Do you really know what aim encompasses in CS2 and how to improve it as fast as possible? Today I'm going to tell you the training, warm-up and improvement routines that I and many other top players use to improve their aim. I'm also going to use this video to address most common aim problems and how to fix them properly. I will also be putting links in the description to everything that I mentioned today, but before I get into the video, I'm going to ask that if you learned something useful, hit subscribe to always stay ahead of the game, and make sure to click the bell icon to be notified when I release a new video. The problem that most people make when warming up is spending way too much time. If your warm-up is anything over 30 minutes long, you've got it all wrong, and let me explain why. Imagine you're training for a big marathon. The morning of the marathon, you wake up, you put on your shoes, and you run 15 miles. Would you get to the marathon feeling ready to go, or would you get to the marathon feeling already tired, already sluggish, and just wanting to go home? Now with that analogy, why would you spend a whole game's worth of time warming up when you first got on CS? The reason you get into your games in the morning and feel like everyone is faster, you get headshot every time you see someone, is because you spent a game's length of time warming up, and your opponent spent the last 25 minutes in a game where they warmed up much more than just their mechanics, but countless other non-mechanical skills also. Set a time, preferably between 10 to 20 minutes when you get on CS to warm up, but don't overdo it and get burnt out before you even start to play. Now with that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about how to diagnose the problems that you have in game. The best way to diagnose your issues by yourself, and arguably one of the best skills to learn early on, is how to critique your own demos. It's super easy to do, it takes an hour at most, and you can do it at any point between your games or even before you warm up. First, watch a demo from a top player, preferably a demo from a FACEIT pug, and if you don't know how to do it, I'll show you right now. Find the player you want to watch a demo of. I'm using Monacy for this tutorial. Google the player's name with the words FACEIT account after it. Find their FACEIT account, click stats, scroll down and pick any of their games. If you want to learn a specific map, you can do that too. Click watch demo, you'll get a raw file with the demo zipped. Now go to your Steam library, right click CS2, go to manage, then browse local files. When you're here, click game, CSGO, then drag your demo from your zipped file into this file. Go into CS2, open the console, type play demo space and then the name of the demo and then enter. If the previous step didn't work, which sometimes it doesn't, you can right click your demo file in the CSGO folder and click copy as path, then type play demo space and then Ctrl V to paste the path and then enter. When you watch this demo, list things like the utility that they use, how they play their position and their crosshair placement. These can all be copy and pasted into your gameplay to improve. The next step is to watch one of your own demos and pay attention to these three things. These are so important, so please remember these or come back to the video when you watch your own demos. When you die, think about what you could have done to avoid dying in that scenario. Did you push too hard? Surprised by a player that you could have known was there? 90% of the time there are things that you can improve to avoid dying in the same scenario next time. At the start of the round, look at your team's economy and ask yourself 3 questions. Should I have saved this round? Should I have forced this round? And what did my teammates buy? I get that in solo queue the buys can be super weird, but it doesn't mean that you can just follow the trend and get yourself killed because you decided to full save when your whole team bought Mac 10 and Kevlar. This is also one of the easiest things to improve. The next time you get into a game, it will become a habit of checking your buy and your teammates' buy before the round starts. This point is possibly the most important one to learn for winning more rounds and gaining more elo in general. To always have a plan at the start of the round. It can be as simple as having the spawn for mid on Mirage, so you go mid and destroy their window player. Taking your spawn into account is also a huge deal when you're thinking of plans, due to the timings of different maps. You having the best spawn to take somewhere aggressively can get you some really easy kills a lot of the time. Now that I spent this long tangent on demo reviews on a video originally about aim, you should be able to diagnose your issues. I'm going to use this section of the video to outline common problems that you may have found in your game and how to fix them. The first problem I'm going to cover is probably the most common problem you have, and it's also really easy to notice and to fix. You've probably heard or even said this a million times, and you've probably chalked it up to Valve's bad hit reg, which is true. But what if I told you that the reason your shots aren't connecting is sometimes actually up to your movement? Counter-strafing is like the toxic goo that seeps into every video about CS2, but honestly it cannot be overstated how important this skill is to master. There are a couple steps to improve your counter-strafing, the first and most important of which is to improve your movement. Jump into the CS stats training map on the workshop and shoot this challenges tab and select KZ. Try and complete this training map, and if you find yourself struggling to make some of the simple jumps at the start, it's probably about time to work on your movement. The best way to do this is honestly just to practice it everywhere. This map is probably the best place you can practice your movement alone. When you have some free time, just try and work further through this KZ map until you can get most of the way through it, and then you can start to incorporate your movement into your games. I'm going to make a video soon about the skill jumps in certain maps. You should practice these until you're comfortable with trying them in real games. If you're a really good movement player and still can't seem to counter strafe properly, the problem may include other parts of your aiming mechanics. The best way that I've found to practice these mechanics as naturally as possible is using this map from the workshop. This is by far my favourite workshop map of all time. It's called 5E aimhub, and it literally has anything you could want from a training map. It has completely free pre-fire maps, it has hold training, aim training, reaction speed tests, and the part that I'm going to talk about now, peak training. If you come here in the map and select peak training, you'll be greeted with 4 arrows that tell you exactly where to expect the enemy. All you have to do now is methodically peek. Don't worry about how fast it is, as the more you practice it, the faster you'll get. When the arrow comes up, I want you to strafe out until you can see your enemy, let go of your strafing key, and immediately click the opposite key. Aim at your opponent and burst fire. It's fine if you miss, just do it again from where you're standing. Strafe the same or the opposite direction, counter strafe by tapping the opposite key, aim and shoot again. At the start, if you haven't trained your peaks or your counter strafing before, it's going to feel really uncomfortable, but this is a good thing. As long as you go as slow as you need, you focus on your mechanics while you're doing it, you will improve this skill 1000%. The next problem I'm going to talk about is first bullet accuracy. This is a really important thing to train as you get into higher elos, as you'll be facing opponents that have a really low time to kill. And without training this mechanic, it's going to feel like your enemies kill you before you even had time to hit enough bullets to kill them. Honestly, this mechanic is half physical and half mental. If you aren't completely focused on your game, or if you're super anxious and scared of taking duels, you're going to be committing to a spray that is going to get you killed 90% of the time. Personally, the best way I've found to train this skill is using this map called aim_rush. Again, I'll link all the maps in the description. Pick the deagle and just slow down when you're aiming. Make sure that you're 100% gonna headshot them before you shoot. If you practice this mechanic as much as you can, like while waiting for a game, before queuing, and once you get off face it for the day, the improvement in your time to kill will feel like night and day. I know this works because it's worked for me and it has worked for many others. Also, a pro tip, after the first shot with the deagle, you should crouch for the next bullet. This is because the deagle accuracy is notoriously stupid, and counter strafing sometimes just isn't enough to get a shot that is 100% accurate. A problem that even I fell victim to a bunch when trying to level up is when you get peeked by 2, 3 or even 4 people at the same time. It seems like an impossible thing to control, but it really isn't. Isolating your opponents is something that even high level players don't always think about or are able to master, and if you can practice this enough, you can surpass these players a lot easier than you think. The way of practicing this skill is a lot like the previous one, which is why I put it here in the video. Jump back into aim_rush, and you can use any weapon for this, but I would again suggest the deagle. This way you can train the previous skill and this skill at the same time for even more efficient training. Make sure when you're training this to focus on only exposing yourself to one enemy at once, always making sure that you aren't showing to more than one enemy. Use the walls and the boxes on the map to isolate your opponents and force them to take a 1v1 duel with you every single time. When you start your next game, think about this principle when you're holding a site alone, or even when you're taking space on the map, and again I promise you will win more games and gain more elo. Another thing I'm going to put in this part of the video is more of a disclaimer than anything, but if you're using aim trainers as your only training, please stop. As useful as these trainers are, they'll never beat actual experience in gameplay. Like a lot of things, aim trainers can be really useful in moderation, but they should never take up more than 20% of your training regimen for CS2. There are so many things that you can't improve in aim trainers that you can improve in game. Movement, game sense, and countless other things can only be learned in game. Another thing I wanted to mention to improve all areas of your aim at once is to just deathmatch a bunch. But what people don't understand about playing deathmatch is to actually play deathmatch. I'm also talking to myself in this section because I know I do it way too often, but when you're playing deathmatch, don't just throw some music on or watch a video on your second monitor, because this is probably why you can't transfer your skills in deathmatch into your actual gameplay. You need to be focused on your gameplay in deathmatch just as much or even more than you do in game. Make sure that you're counter strafing correctly, peeking correctly, your first shot accuracy and your spray control is the best it can be, and this knowledge from deathmatch will trigger your muscle memory when you're in game in the same situations. Muscle memory seems like voodoo, but it is a serious superpower when it comes to improving in any game, not just CS2. The more times you do something the correct way, the more times you'll be able to do it without even thinking about it. And if you're a reels watching, brain rot consuming goblin like myself, your brain is far from empty during a game. And it's super useful to clear up some of your brain into muscle memory so you can have some space to think about other things during the game. As the video is coming to an end, I wanted to put some words in at the end as sort of something you need to work towards in your game. What I'm going to be talking about is the best aimers in CS2 just don't think about it. I know it sounds crazy, and it is, but if you can do it consistently, it's seriously incredible. Device is a big name in the CS2 pro scene, and he said that when he aims, he doesn't think about it at all. It's really hard for regular players not to think about their own aim, because it's one of the only things in CS2 that has instant feedback. When you shoot someone, they take damage and they die. This makes it really hard not to think about it while you're doing it. But again, using the sports analogy, when people play a sport that they're really good at, they are not thinking about it. They are not actually doing the sport, if that makes any sense. They're just naturally good at what they do through time and training and practice, and they get to such a point where they no longer have to think about it. And this is the subconscious feeling that you need to master yourself to be a great aimer. This video has been super fun to script, so I really hope you did enjoy it. Again, if you think I missed something, which I'm sure I did, please leave me a comment and let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. If you liked, leave a like. If you hated this video, leave a dislike. And please subscribe if you want to keep up to date with the stuff I'm doing on here. Thank you all again, I'm so grateful for every one of you, and I'll see you in level 10.